Hello. In this video demo I will show you the capabilities of OpenFlow by demonstrating an application that I have written that allows you to have web portal functionality using OpenFlow capable switches. In legacy environments, in order to have web portal functionality, the switches have to support the web redirection functionality for captive portals. This can be a cumbersome configuration with multiple commands to set this up. With the Passpartoo application this can be done in a couple of clicks. The network environment is based on a hybrid OpenFlow architecture, which means that it is possible to run any legacy networking protocols alongside OpenFlow. Both architectures are operational concurrently. The architecture of the Passpartoo application is based on the components that are shown in the diagram. The solution is built around a couple of components. The first component is the front end, the SDN application where the configuration takes place. This is a web GUI. Once a redirection is enabled on a Conware or Aruba OS switch, all traffic will be blocked for the selected subnets with some exceptions. All DNS requests will be redirected by the switch to a DNS server that will respond to all client DNS requests. The DNS server will return its own IP address to the client. This means that if a client enters a URI in the browser, the DNS server IP address is returned to the client. The client will then perform the HTTP or HTTP request to the DNS server. The DNS server also runs an Apache web server on which a web redirection HTTP 302 is configured. The DNS server will then redirect the HTTP or HTTP request to the web portal. Once the client reaches the web portal, he or she can register or log in. After successful registration or login, the web portal updates the backend SDN application, and the flow is pushed to the associated switches that grants access to that client based on the MAC address. Now let's see the application in action. We'll first log into the application and check out the controllers. So there's one controller available. Of course the application supports multiple controllers and even teaming is supported. Let's change to the Passpartoo context and start a configuration. The configuration consists of a couple of simple steps. We have to add a web portal, a DNS server, subnets, and then create a profile that we can assign to the switches after creation. So first let's create a web portal. We provide an IP address, which is the IP address of that web portal. Provide a description. And we can also provide a token. The token is used to authorize the web portal to access the backend database. This is an additional security measure. The next step is to create a DNS entry. At this moment the application supports DNS mask, which is a very popular and common DNS server redirector. Passpartoo also allows for the configuration of DNS servers that have a backend database. This is still work in progress though. So let's add a DNS. For DNS mask we don't use a backend database, but we have a manual configuration which is very simple and well documented. So let's provide the IP address of the DNS server. Just give it a name. I'm not using a backend. This is my web portal. In addition, what I also have to do is I have to add the real DNS, the original DNS server. So the reason for providing the original DNS server is that if a client does a DNS request to its configured DNS server, it expects a response back from that DNS server, so not from the redirected DNS server. So therefore we have to push another flow rule that replaces the redirection DNS server IP address with the original DNS server IP address. So let's take the Google DNS server which I have configured for the clients and submit the DNS. Once the DNS entry is created, we can check the connectivity, and if connectivity is successful we can activate the entry. So let's check the redirection. We can see that it's redirected to 192.168.0.104. And now we can activate the DNS. The next step is the configuration of the network ranges or the subnets that we want to use for the web portals. This is also a very straightforward and simple process. I have already entered some subnets and it's very easy to add or manage those subnets. So this is a subnet that we're going to use for the profile. The final preparation is to create a profile that we can use to assign to the switches. The profile consists of the DNS server, web portal, subnets, and a controller or team that we assign that profile to. So let's add a profile. Let's give it a name. Select the DNS server, select the web portal, and then we can also assign subnets. So if we assign subnets, we can see you get a pop-up window, and then we can assign those created subnets. Let's update, and then it will show in the main screen. In addition, we can provide a web page that the client will see after successful registration or login. Also, there is an idle timeout setting. This setting logs out the client after the configured idle timeout. The default is 10 minutes. So for the redirection page, let's put a page in here, which will be it's just an example page, which is the SDN controller. So after successful login, the client should redirect to that SDN controller login page. As you can see, there is also some security measures, so you really have to enter all the information before you want to submit the profile. So this is basically the whole preparation. Now we can assign the profile to the switches. So on this page we select the profile, and then we can see the switches that are associated with that profile. So what we can do is we filter out the HP switches by doing a search on the manufacturer. So you can see that we have a Comware and a Aruba OS switch. So we select those switches and we associate the profile to the switches. And that's it. Now let's check out some things. First, let's check the flows that are configured for the switch. You can see that I'm directing the DNS requests to a DNS mask server, and I allow HTTP and HTTP traffic to and from the DNS server and the web portal. All traffic from subnet 10.10.2.0 is blocked, which is the bottom rule. So let's check out the client side. This is the client connecting to the Comware switch. The client has obtained an IP address in the 10.10.2.0 range, and let me just start a web browser and point to an internet address. So what you can see here is I get to the web portal. So let's register as a user. And click register. So what you can see, I've registered successfully and I will be redirected in 3 seconds. So I should reach the SDN controller, which is correct. So let's check another client that is connected to the Aruba OS switch. First, let me just show you that really I don't have any connectivity to the network. So my ping is blocking. So let's run the browser. And let me just register as Aruba progress. Also here you can see registered successfully and redirection. Now let's check out the ping again. And the ping is working now. Now let's go back to the Passpartoo GUI and check out what has happened. We'll check the flows first. So you can see that there are some additional flows. I have 23 now, so let me just go to the next page. You can see here the two MAC addresses in the bottom two flows, and you can see that the action has been set to normal. The priority of this flow is set to 32,000, which means it has a higher priority as the block flow. So therefore it's forwarding the traffic. And let's check out the client information. You can see on this page the client information, when registration has taken place, and the login status of the client. You can also force a client login or log out on this page. And then finally there's the dashboard, where you can get an overview of all the components in Passpartoo. So this concludes this demonstration. The application is planned to become available in the HPE SDN App Store around August 2016. Thanks for watching.